Hey VC, how's it going? Right, okay, Happy New Year. This is the Vinyl Tag 2018. I've seen a few of these videos, very cool, so I thought I'd get stuck in. 20 questions, so first up, first VC video that I saw. I've been watching videos for about 4 years now. I'm not too sure exactly who was first, but it would be amongst Sequoia Flame, David down in Florida, Secka Funk, Van. I think he's taken most of his videos down, but he showed a lot of soul, funk, jazz, stuff that I'd never even heard of. Absolutely fantastic. I think I spent an entire weekend just watching all of his videos at one point, and it was just an education. Also a chap named Nathan, Turntable Currents. I think his videos are still up. He showed a lot of psych and whatever. It wasn't necessarily my bag, but interesting videos. Okay, favourite record from a VC recommendation, right? So not so much a record, but a record label. This is something that Secka Funk showed back in the day. The label's called Ricky Tick. It's a jazz label out of Finland. It's now defunct, but what I loved about it when he was playing some of the tunes, sounded great. But I love the artwork, I love the whole aesthetic of it. So this artist on the label, the Five Corners Quintet. This is a series of EPs that they've done on 10-inch, so you can see there the whole architecture theme. So it continues. The last one's a little bit different, but yeah, a fascinating label. I suppose it's what the VC is all about. You know, it's not just about the music; it's about the packaging. It's about the sleeves, the sleeve design, the look of the whole thing, and you know, as record collectors, that's what a lot of it's about, I suppose, isn't it? But yeah, I think that's a really good example. Right, other hobbies, yeah, I played the bass guitar. I played in a band for, well, I've been playing since I was 15. I'm 42 now, so 27 years. I played in the same band for that period with a couple of mates on and off, and I played in another band quite regularly, just doing bars and parties and weddings and stuff like that. Why did I start to collect? I've got a sister that's 9 years older than me, Paula. So when she was 13, 14, so early teens, getting into music, watching Top of the Pops, she was buying her own records, and me being a little kid, I just wanted what she had, which is the way it works, isn't it? You know. So after a while, my parents realised this was a way to shut me up and keep me entertained, so they bought me a sort of suitcase record player, a big heavy thing, you know. My folks didn't have a lot of cash, so neighbours donated records. So I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, and I probably had 100 or 150 7-inch singles, stuff that people had given. A lot of it craps like ABBA, David Soul, the Osmonds, whatever. Yeah, and as time went on, you know, as I got pocket money, I bought more records. When it got to birthdays and Christmas, people bought me records, so it all just stemmed from there, and it just continued. Do I play an instrument? Yeah, I play the bass guitar. I've never worked in a record shop. That was one of the questions. My favourite album from the year I was born. So my automatic reaction to this question, it would be to pick out A Night at the Opera by Queen. But if I'm totally honest, nowadays a record that I play far more is Mothership Connection by Parliament. I think that this is the best P-Funk album. So yeah, I wanted to show that. Okay. Classic album that I haven't yet heard. Now this is part of the reason why I did this this list of questions, because over the last couple of months I've been thinking about this a lot. There are numerous albums, classic albums, that I've never heard. So pick a genre, you know, for example jazz. I've never heard Giant Steps by John Coltrane. I've never heard In a Silent Way by Miles Davis. Rock stuff, I've never heard Machine Head by Deep Purple. I've never heard Master of the Puppets by Metallica. Of those early Black Sabbath records, I know the first album. Apart from that, I've never heard any of them. I've probably heard most of the tunes in bars and stuff around here or whatever, but I've never sat down and listened to the album in its entirety. Soul music, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You by Aretha Franklin. I've never heard that, despite the fact that most of my records here, the highest percentage of records here would be soul music, you know. So yeah, there's plenty for me to go at. Guilty pleasure, yeah. As a kid, I was given a lot of these Top of the Pops compilations, which are hits of the day, but not done by the original artist. Now, I had loads of these, and I gave them all away to charity shops, so that, yeah, you can thank me for that, it's my fault. but this is the only one that I kept, and the reason being, you can see there, it's got Autobahn on it by Kraftwerk, and I just love the fact that these would have been recorded by session musicians who would turn up to a studio and have to record, I don't know, 3 or 4 songs in a 3-hour session. So on that day, they were probably asked to do Stand By Your Man, Send in the Clowns, 3 Steps to Heaven, and Autobahn, and I find that absolutely fascinating. It's not a bad version actually, so that's the only one I've kept. Right, a strange record. Yeah, this is an album by Diana Dors. For those of you that don't know, she was sort of the British equivalent of Marilyn Monroe for a while. This is an album that she put out, I'm assuming in the 50s. I like the way that the sleeve opens up. See a portrait of her. It's on red vinyl. This is a reissue from a few years ago. The reason why I bought this was I saw an original copy and I just loved the way that it looked. But the originals go for about 70 or 80 quid. Yeah, the reissue was a nice price, so I picked it up. But on the subject of Diana Dors, I also have a little brochure here, Diana Dors in 3D, which is something totally different, but yeah. One for the dads. Okay, show a pitch disc, right. Marillion, Season's End. I loved the first 4 albums that Marillion did with Steve Hogarth after Fish left the band. This is their first album with him, and I think it's an absolute classic. Came out in 1989. The picture disc incidentally sounds absolutely awful. Right, best posthumous release. I'm going to go with this album. This is Hit and Run Part 2 by Prince. Prince died in April 2016. This came out in May. It was already scheduled to come out. It had been preceded by this Hit and Run Part 1, which came out I think the end of the previous year. I absolutely hated this record. It was basically Prince trying to sound like the chart acts of today. Yeah, it just really didn't suit him. And after he died, I saw that this was lined up to come out, and it did come out. And I must admit, I was thinking, oh, not more of the same. It's just not a fitting legacy, basically, but quite the opposite. The tracks on here, some of the best of it put out for quite a while. Some great pop songs, really quirky, interesting songwriting, and also some political commentary as well with the song Baltimore. So yeah, love that album. What artist do I impulsively collect? Paul Weller. When I was a teenager, this came out, I must have been about 16, this came out in 1991. I love this album. This is his first solo album. As I mentioned my sister before, she'd been a Jam fan in the early 80s and early part of Star Council, so I knew a lot of his stuff, but I love this. This has got a real acid jazz feel to it. Great songwriting, and on the back of that I spent, you know, my sort of years around 17, 18 just looking for old Jam and Star Council singles, so I have plenty of them up there. And since then I've just been buying his stuff, but I think he's a wonderful songwriter, always interesting, surrounds himself with great musicians, but an artist that is always willing to push himself, different musical styles. Not everything works, but the fact that he tries it, I absolutely love it. Yeah, and this is one of my favourite albums. Great record. Best blind buy, right. I'm going to show a gospel record. This is by Martha Bass. It's Another Day's Journey. Now, I bought this many years ago. I went to Canada with my wife on holiday. I mean, like most people, I'm pretty sure, I always look to find out what record shops are in a particular city where we're going through. This was in Toronto, and this was actually somebody selling records out of the back of their house. And I dragged my wife. We got a bus to a particular area of Toronto. The bus wouldn't go any further. We had to walk up the side of a freeway, went up on this estate, a driveway down the back of somebody's house, and up these stairs, and it was shut. He just opened up when he wanted to, I suppose. Banged on the door, no answer. And we just sat around for about half an hour with my wife, being really pissed off at me that I dragged her sort of an hour and a half journey for a bit of a wild goose chase. And somebody happened to come out of the house, and I said, can I go and have a look at the records? And the guy said, well, yeah, why not? I've got 5 minutes. So I had a flick through, and obviously I was on a bit of a tough time scale, so I went with that. And it's a lovely gospel record, so there you go. A blind spot artist. I'm a bit crap with all the sort of the West Coast hippie stuff, psychedelic stuff from the late 60s, 67, stuff like Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead. It doesn't mean a great deal to me. I've had some of the records, but I don't see much of the stuff about, so yeah, that's something I should look into. Favourite album cover, I'll be quick. Parade by Prince, again another Prince record, but I've always loved that sleeve. As a teenager I had that on my bedroom wall. Yeah, love it. Musician I've met, Edwyn Collins. If anybody that's friends with me on Facebook, I do alternate my Facebook profile picture between a picture of me and my wife and me and Edwyn Collins. That'll be a good thing. A record with sentimental value. I must admit, not many records got sentimental value for me. It's more the actual music. The songs mean something, remind me of a time. But what I would say, my wife buys me very few records, and one that she did seek out for me is this Vanity 6, the debut album. Obviously it's a Prince production, written all the stuff on it. It's something that I hadn't got. I'd obviously mentioned it, and she sorted it out and gave it to me for Christmas one year, so I was chuffed with that. A favourite album that no one seems to know, I'm going to go with Norma Jenkins' Patience is a Virtue, a great modern soul album from the late 70s, about 76, 77. If you want to try something off this album, get on YouTube and listen to Reaching Out in Darkness. I absolutely love that record, worth checking out. Finally, a favourite album from a genre that I don't know that well, country music. I know a bit of it. This is a bit of a cop-out. This is Bobby Darin and his Commitment album. Obviously Bobby Darin, not necessarily country, but this is just straight country funk. I heard this in a record shop and just fell in love with it. Anybody that knows, I know Headley knows about this record already, but yeah, if you're not over familiar with it, check it out. Cheers.